Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm comparing a Tesla Model 3 performance to the all-new BMW i4 M50. Now, before we get into this video, I do want to mention that if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, I'm going to include a link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And with that being said, let's just get right into the comparison. Starting with the M50, we have dual electric motors with a total system output of 536 horsepower and then 586 pound-feet of torque, a driving range of 270 miles, and so a pretty solid setup. However, as you guys can see, we do not have a front storage area, which is a little bit sad, but not a huge deal because the frunks in this particular segment, as you guys will see with the Model 3, are practical, but they're not massive. And speaking of Model 3, if we pop over to the Model 3, dual electric motor setup just like what you have with the BMW, but we've got 450 horsepower, 471 pound-feet of torque, and over 300 miles of driving electric range. But you guys can see loading floor is, it's practical. Again, I'm not saying it's not practical, but loading floor is pretty high up, and it's something, but it's not like a crazy amount of storage space there with the Model 3. And the hoods are so annoying to close on Teslas, I can tell you that right now. Going over the front end of the M50, it has BMW's normal styling. So you can see you've got like a normal BMW hood with really cool body lines. You got the paint that looks amazing in the sunlight. BMW logo, it does have some blue accenting around it to kind of signify it's fully electric. And then you have like the kidney grille, but it's closed off because, again, fully electric. But you do have an M logo there in the grille, which looks pretty cool. And overall, again, BMW headlights that are normal. You basically have BMW styling, but everything's closed off. And so to the untrained eye, it's just any other BMW sedan, which I really like because you don't have this weird electric car styling. You just have a normal looking vehicle, which is kind of what I would go route-wise if I was, going to be rocking an electric car. Now, popping back over to the Tesla, this one does have some modifications. I actually haven't reviewed a stock Model 3 yet. I'm going to try to get that lined up on the channel in the near future. I'll just try to find one. But anyways, you guys can see there with the Tesla logo. Now this, again, has some vinyl wrap in certain places and everything, so it does kind of change the aesthetic. But we've got the LED headlamps. I think they look great on the Tesla, especially when you cover up part of the light to make it look a little bit sleeker. But I think that Tesla did a good job. I'm not a fan of the Model Y, which obviously has this styling, but then obviously raised up a little bit. On the Model 3 though, I think it looks really good. Now this obviously has carbon fiber ground effects that have been added after the fact. Like I said, a bunch of modifications, but even in stock form, I think the Model 3 is a good looking car from a front end perspective. It's simplistic, but it looks good. And going from the Tesla back over to the BMW, you guys can see from a wheel design perspective, normal wheels, right? They didn't do any weird aerodynamic wheels. They just did normal wheels, which obviously, affects range slightly. But I would, again, rather have a little bit less range, but then a cool looking wheel so that every time I look at my car, I'm like, I bought the right car, right? And then notice there with the blue brake caliper, again, that's another kind of cool accent piece. And you can see there with the venting on the side, just like other BMW models, and then regular side skirt there. Door handles that are flush with the body to obviously improve aerodynamic efficiency. Look at the mirrors, how those are shaped also to kind of help out the aerodynamic efficiency. And then again, from a side view perspective, normal BMW styling. Popping back over to the Tesla, this one has aftermarket wheels and tires. It's something that a lot of people apparently complain about with the Teslas, is that the tires aren't wide enough from a grip perspective. In the cases that I've driven with stock Teslas, it seems like they put the power down pretty well, so I don't know. But obviously I'm not an owner of one, so I can't comment on it. But the aftermarket wheels on this car look cool. The stock ones on the Model 3, I think that those also look pretty good. I think that Tesla, again, they went for a simplistic design, but I think that it works overall. I love how you have the red painted brake calipers as part of the performance package. I think that's pretty cool. Then you guys can see their aftermarket side skirt kit on this particular one with the camera there on the side, just like on the Model S. And then carbon fiber mirror caps added after the fact as well. The trim around the windows, darker. And then again, look at the door handles flush with the bodywork, again, for aerodynamic efficiency. And then here's the key fob of the BMW. So notice with the lock unlock function and the opening here for the hatch, it is actually a hatchback. So makes it super practical from an opening perspective, right? It's easy to load things inside of it. And then notice here with the storage space down below, that is all fantastic. And then you got the cargo cover built in, which I think is another cool feature overall. And again, storage space there, super solid. And again, I think that going for the hatch design was the right route to go. But as you guys will see, it did not run the overall styling of the car because it actually looks like a sedan on the outside. So you don't have that weird hatchback appearance. And then notice again, blue BMW logo there in the center, which actually has like a camera at the bottom, which I think is pretty interesting. So it's not technically a true M car, it's just an M series car. Anyways, LED lights there in the back. You got the diffuser as well. No exhaust tips because again, it's fully electric. But again, it looks like a BMW from the rear, which I like. It's a normal looking car, so you don't have to go too crazy with the styling. Now, again, aftermarket spoiler here on this Tesla. And then the taillights on the Model 3, I think they look good. Again, on the Model Y, they proportions just don't work. And then aftermarket diffuser. The stock diffuser is just kind of like normal looking, not crazy like what this one has. But you can see that with these, aftermarket parts, it makes the Model 3 look pretty aggressive. Like it goes from, looking like a penguin on its belly to looking like, a sports car, right? And then popping back over to the BMW. So BMW's normal interior, so you're going to see lots of leather throughout the interior, and including on the seats as well. And BMW's doesn't usually go for a crazy design with their seats and everything. They keep things pretty simplistic. It's kind of like the German thing to do, it seems, is not go crazy with the design. Just make sure that the materials are nice, the fit and finish is nice, and that's what they do. Climate controls there for the rear with the USBs, and then you got the cup holder armrest situation, which I think is pretty cool. Notice how annoying that is. Like, it doesn't want to flip down. But anyways, going back over to the Model 3, that's another aftermarket piece that's been added to the car. Now notice from a material standpoint, a little bit different. You got like the Alcantara, right, to make it a little bit on the sportier side of things. Love the padding there. And then again, that's another thing that's been added, more carbon fiber all over. And then in terms of the seats, they look nice, I think, and they're comfortable as well, frankly. So I think that Tesla did a pretty good job with the seats. And then popping back to the front of the BMW. Again, notice you've got BMW's normal like door panel styling, some sharp edges with some of the trim pieces, which I think look pretty cool. And then notice again with the stitching throughout, and another M logo. And then here are the front seats. Again, notice all the stitching throughout with those seats, power adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then you got the pedal layout down below. And then it's all of the light controls as well. And so, yeah, overall, solid setup. Pop back over to the Tesla with the pop-out door handles, again with that Alcantara, and then notice the padding there on the side of the door handle. And again, more of those carbon fiber inserts, and you'll see a lot of carbon fiber throughout the interior. And then again with the front seats, they're comfortable. Pedals, I think, look great. And then the dash is actually normally wood trim, and again there was carbon fiber print put on that so that it looks a little bit nicer compared to stock. Now this is the thing I love about the BMW, normal start sequence. Like, you just push the push button and you have a normal key fob too. I really appreciate that. Steering wheel is really nice. Got the BMW M colors there. Got the heated steering wheel button on the steering wheel, right? Makes sense. Got the M logo there at the bottom. And then practical car controls. Again, if you've been in a modern BMW, then everything's going to look super normal to you. Which, again, I think familiarity is definitely good. And then here is the center gauge cluster. It actually has a center gauge cluster, which is great. Fully digital. I think the animation on it is fantastic. Resolution is great as well. I think they've done a great job with designing it. And I think everyone's kind of learned from Tesla at this point that you have to have a digital, like, not digital, but you have to have a gauge cluster in an electric car. Like, you can't just skip out on that because people want something like right in front of them, right? But continuing along, notice when I change the drag mode with it, it actually kind of changes the overall like appearance of the gauge cluster, which is pretty cool feature on it. And having the navigation screen there in the center is also cool, frankly. And here's the infotainment system. So first off, camera resolution is great with the BMW, which is something also that's fantastic. Got the parking sensors as well. It's not a huge car, so you don't really need a crazy camera system to be able to park it and all that. It's not going to be too much of a difficulty. But anyways, as for the rest of the infotainment system, what you'll notice is response time's great, and it's pretty easy to use overall, pretty intuitive as well. You've got like all these different pages to scroll through, and I think that they've done a good job in terms of the overall layout of the infotainment system. And the other thing is I like all the different things you can like find out on the vehicle, and like all the different tabs you can go into. It's pretty cool. And then notice here with the drive modes, I love the little kind of pictures they have for the drive modes, how they explain it. And then you got like your sport boost, which with this car, it's definitely crazy. I can tell you that right now. The acceleration, I mean, that's all electric cars. Like, they're just crazy because you get all the horsepower and torque at 0 RPMs because it's electric. So it definitely makes for an interesting driving experience. And notice also here with the climate menu, that's another cool thing with it. And something else to note here is look at the trim there on the dash, right? Nice padding all over, so it definitely kind of feels upscale. And they didn't go all crazy with the interior. They again made it normal BMW with the interior, so that if you're with the BMW brand, then you just feel familiar with the car, which I think is going to make it easier for buyers to transition over. Wireless phone charger with the cup holders, and then notice physical buttons for a lot of stuff, right? And then you got like your drive mode select, again, a bunch of physical buttons just like other BMW models. Regular shifter as well, nothing weird, right? It's just normal, which again I appreciate. And then it does have that B mode, which is higher for regeneration. And then you've got the second control for the infotainment system, so if you don't want to use a touchscreen, you don't have to. Pretty normal center console, right? The charging ports, all that. And again, with the material used throughout, I think it looks nice from a design perspective, and it feels nice as well. So they have done a solid job overall. And then glove box, pretty normal with that as well. And then popping up top, we do have a sunroof, which is pretty big. It's not like a full panoramic, but it's a bigger than normal sunroof. It's kind of in this weird in-between area. But popping back over to the Tesla, you can see that carbon fiber trim continues on the dash. And then yeah, here is the whole steering wheel setup with the Tesla. So like I said, no gauge cluster with the Model 3. If you get like the plaids, right, with the Model X and the Model S, then you actually get a screen there in the center. But this, no. You can basically control a bunch of different things with those buttons on the steering wheel. Again, they've gone for like a minimalist design here with the Tesla, which I like how it's not super cluttered, but at the same time, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating. So you guys can see with the card thing, this is another thing that frustrates me with the Teslas. Like, I know some people probably love it because you don't have to worry about taking a key around. You just have a card in your wallet. I get it. It's practical. But it's also so annoying when you get in the car and you have to like tap the card every single time rather than just get in the car, press the start button. I wish that they had that. I wish that you could do the card, but I wish they also had like a start button, right? I understand again with the minimalist design, but I think they should change it. Now, everything's in the infotainment system with the Tesla. So it's a great infotainment system. Response time, as you can see, is fantastic. It's pretty self-explanatory as well in terms of usability. I just don't wish, I don't like controls being in the infotainment system like this. I wish that, I'm glad, like, it's okay if they have everything in the infotainment system, but if they also have some physical buttons too, because it's so annoying having to go through like touchscreen menus just to get to everything rather than just being able to boop, press a button. But, in terms of infotainment systems, it's definitely one of the better ones in the car industry overall. And it's literally like all of the features in the car. So like whenever you get into like any Tesla interior, it's like infotainment screen and then there's like nothing else. I will say the camera system, right, since it has more camera viewpoints, is definitely a big plus here with the Model 3. And then again, you can see with that minimalist design, right, notice with that carbon fiber trim, this kind of covers everything. But you've got these like different storage areas. It's kind of interesting with how some of them like open up. Again, it looks cool, it's practical, but I would rather have buttons there, my personal opinion. Anyways, with the center console, again, pretty normal setup with that as well. Nothing too crazy happening there. Nice padding on it. And you guys saw the dash earlier. Now with the Teslas for the glove boxes, if you've got to like open everything up with the infotainment system. Again, they don't do normal handles on them if they have a glove box, right? Anyways, you can see here with the roof, you got the glass there at the top. And I think that also looks cool as well. It's sad that you can't open it up, though. That would be nice. But it's kind of like an EV car thing to do where you just have fixed glass where you can't open it at all, which, you know, some of you might like that and some of you might not like that. But summing things up. So first off, obviously the BMW, more horsepower, more torque, but a little bit less range than the Tesla on paper. Now, from a driving perspective, they both drive exceptionally well, right? Low center of gravity because of the battery packs with the cars. They're both very quick from an acceleration perspective as well, and ride comfort is solid. So I wouldn't say that I would pick one over the other from a driving dynamic perspective. You do have the fun like BMW driving dynamics though with the i4. It does drive like a BMW, so if you like BMWs and you're thinking about going EV, right, it gives you all of that. From an interior perspective, I like both the interiors. The BMW definitely wins from a control perspective in my opinion, because first off, it has a gauge cluster, easy to use infotainment system, and physical buttons, and it's just more user friendly. It feels like a normal car, whereas the Tesla, it's got a learning curve. Yes, once you learn how to use the car, I'm sure it's secondhand nature, but again, I don't know. I don't want to have to deal with that. If I'm going to switch over to an electric car, I just want to be able to pop in and drive it. So here's what I'd have to say is, yeah, Tesla was first to market, but you know, traditional automakers are now coming out with things that are just as good as what Tesla has to offer, if not better. In this case, I would say that the i4 M50 is better than the Model 3. I would buy it over the Model 3 because of how easy it is to use. And, right, you can't have the argument that, oh, servicing and all this kind of stuff, because it's from BMW. So the servicing would be fine. And the fact of the matter is, most charging is going to happen at home. I understand Tesla's supercharger network is great, but Tesla's opening that up to other automakers. And so a lot of Tesla's advantages are starting to diminish, and so they're going to continue to lose market share, in my opinion.